Hello, everyone. This is Steph Lee, founder of Host Agency Reviews. Happy Friday. The weekend is here. You are tuning in for the Friday 15, where every Friday at 12 p.m. Central Time, the HAR team answers the questions that you have sent in to us. And you can send them in by going to hostagencyreviews.com/Friday15 or by following the link in the description. So welcome, everyone. It is wonderful to see you today. So happy to have you joining us. Let's see. So what's in the news today? Well, first of all, it's Friday. And so big time party this weekend. Very excited to have some downtime to chill out. But a couple other things I wanted to go through before we get into our questions. So first, I wanted to let everyone know we have I've mentioned this before, but we have our new course we launched a few months ago, the Ultimate Guide to Starting Your Travel Agency, or the Ultimate Course to Starting Your Travel Agency. I forget the exact name. I'm obviously terrible at promoting this, but one of the things is we just added some free previews to it, which is really nice. So I want to just share my screen really quickly. Let's see. I wanted to share my screen and show you because the first lesson within there, so there are 10 chapters within there. And the first lesson is, so let's see, it's at courses.hostagencyreviews.com. And so if you scroll down and you go to the curriculum area, so there's 10 chapters within there. If you view the full curriculum within there, then that's going to take you to a page where you can see the full, it gives you the all the details on it. And you can see within there all the free previews within there. So the first, even if you aren't planning on buying the course, I'll give you a hint that you should sign up to take the free previews, because the travel agency ecosystem, while it's not walking you through exactly how to start your agency, number one, it'll give you a feel for the course and kind of the setup of it and the way we teach. But number two, it's really valuable information. Like if you find the site valuable, try out this lesson, because essentially instead of the site, I like to think of as ADHD on steroids, because there's so many links everywhere and the amount of information is great, but it's also overwhelming and a lot of information. And so what's nice about, say, this ecosystem chapter is you can sign up, watch it, and it'll give you a broad overview of the industry without having to go through all those articles, and we'll hit all the important points and stay very focused instead of when we do long form content. Mary and I are the main writers on the site, and we have very bad ADHD, I think, because we're always like, oh, and we can link to this, and oh, here's this resource, which is great, but also overwhelming. So I'm going to put a link into that. So if anyone wants to sign up, and again, it's free to sign up, so nothing to worry about there. And you can take a look and get some free information that's a little bit more pointed if that's more your style. Let's see, other things I've talked about the last couple of weeks, but next weekend we are going to be at the Travel Agent Forum in Vegas. So if you are going to be there, we'll put a link to it. If you're not sure what it is, we'll put a link to it from our event calendar, and I will be moderating a panel on host agencies. So hopefully you can stop by for that, or you can stop by our booth, or just pull us aside if you see us in the hallways. We love meeting our listeners and our followers. So great to meet you if you're there. Otherwise, hopefully we'll see you at another industry event soon. And let's see, before we jump into questions, I wanted to go ahead and thank our sponsor for today, who makes today possible. That is Uniglobe Travel Center. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull up their ad really quick, and we'll get started with the questions.
Choosing a host agency can feel like an impossible task. How do you know which one is the right fit for you? Where can you go for solid resources, support, and transparency? At Uniglobe, we care as much about your business as you do. Our network is one of the most respected in the industry, and our partner relationships are second to none. Uniglobe advisors are treated like family, and we're invested in your success. Come see what we're all about at Uniglobe Travel Center.
That's some catchy background music. I was back here kind of like swaying away. I like that. So thank you again, Uniglobe Travel Center. We will put a link in the description if anyone wants to check out their profile, read their ratings, see what's involved with their host agency. All right, so today's first question, I think today is actually, oh no, they're not all anonymous. Okay, our first one is anonymous though, and this says, hello, this is a bit of a business structure adjacent question. My HOA, which is Homeowners Association, for those aren't familiar, my HOA does not allow for businesses to operate out of their dwelling, so I'm thinking about opening up a mailbox through the UPS or the USPS and filing my DBA or LLC using that address. Is that possible? I'm getting a kick out of this because there were so many acronyms within like 10 words. Um, okay, yes, definitely possible, anonymous. So for those that are at this portion, or even if you have your business set up, so one of the things, and this is going to vary by state, but I think a lot of states might follow this, is so one of the things when you set up your business is that oftentimes when you're registering with their state, they won't allow you to use a PO box, which is something that you might run into. And that's a problem because most of us are home based. And for me personally, I wasn't super thrilled about having to put my home address on a public document because when you register, that's a public document and people can look that up through the Secretary of State's office. And so this is a nice way around it. So I'm glad Anonymous brought it up because USPS is typically less expensive than if you were to go with a UPS PO box. The problem is UPS will give you an address, a street address. So it doesn't have that PO box. So you could put that on your legal filing. And USPS, as a general rule, when you sign up for the PO box, just gives you the PO box and you're kind of stuck. So you can't use that in your registration. But USPS is terrible at their marketing and advertising. So I'm just going to pull up here and I share my screen. So when you're signing up with the USPS, the United States Postal Services, let me see, hold we go. When you pull up their website on their PO boxes, so they have something called street addressing, and I'm going to put in the description the link directly to where it is on the site because it's at the very, very bottom. So here's the PO box thing, and at the very bottom in their frequently asked questions, they have something called "What is street addressing and how can I get it from my PO box?" So the program is called street addressing, capitalized. So you can't even tell it's an actual program. But essentially, if you fill this out, you can get it so it has a street address, which is again is really great for those of us that don't want our home addresses on a public document that anyone can access. So that's something to think about if you already have a PO box. If you change it over to this street address, that will be what we're showing. However, I will say, at least in Minnesota, your prior filings they're still able to see them online. So if you did have your actual street address on there, that will still be in there, but at least it won't be the first thing that people can find. So that is a great question. And I'm so glad you brought it up because, yeah, that's something I don't think about telling people, but was really handy when I figured it out. Let's see. Next question from Julie. I'm currently taking the Travel Institute's Trip Kit course to learn more about becoming a travel advisor, which is how I heard about host agency reviews. Yay! I'm attempting the 7-day setup alongside. And by the way, our 7-day setup is kind of a free program we have to help people start their agencies. We'll link to it in the comments. I'm planning a summer vacation for my family, and I'm curious if I choose a host agency sooner rather than later, can I use my own vacation as a chance to learn how to book travel, or do I need to begin booking travel with clients? Thank you, Julie. Wonderful question, Julie. You do not need, you can experiment on yourself. And I would highly recommend experimenting on yourself before you work on clients if that's available to you. So I would say sign up with a host agency because that can help you as you're like researching for your family. It'll give you lots of great practice. The other thing about it is you could possibly get commission on your personal trip, which of course would be, it's subject to the commission split with your host agency, but still it's going to save you quite a bit of money than if you would have not booked it yourself with your host agency. Now, a couple things to mention on this, Julie, that don't exactly answer your question, but you should be aware of. So when you're signing on with host agencies, you want to ask them about personal bookings because some may have that you can only have 2 personal bookings a year where you're getting commission. So make sure you ask that question, check their contracts, and we're going to put a link in the description to an article we have on things to look for in contracts. But one of the things, especially in your situation, is to talk about these self bookings and asking if the commission, like how many can you get commission on a year? Because some host agencies don't want people just booking their own travel because essentially you're just getting a discount then if you're not booking for anyone else. And they'll limit the number of personal bookings you can make. The other thing to mention, and you probably haven't thought about this, but for those of you that are listening that have, so there's something called net bookings, like if you're paying a net payment, which means that as a travel advisor, you make a booking through a portal. typically what happens is those commissions then they go to the host agency, and then the host agency takes their cut and then they send the commission to you. If you do a net payment, you're essentially cutting off your host agency. So, say it's $1,000 booking and the commission is $200. So, you just pay $800 and then the host agency never gets that money. That's called a net booking. And those are something you should not be doing if you're with a host agency, because a lot of host agencies will have in their contract that if you're doing any net bookings, because essentially what it's doing is cutting out the host agency, which really isn't fair since you're using their number, and it raises a bunch of other questions about things. But if you're doing net payment, um, there's very strict repercussions for that. And a lot of times that will again be in the host agency's contracts, where it'll say if they find you doing net bookings, you will immediately be ejected from the host agency program. So that's something to be aware of. Definitely not worth the risk. Nowhere is it fair being a business partner with a host agency if you're cutting them out. I always like to think, I heard someone say this the other day, but they're like, does it pass the red face test? Meaning that if you were on the front cover of a travel magazine or something that your friends read, and it told the story of what you did, would you really be embarrassed about that and be red faced? And most people would be pretty embarrassed if that was put out there. So let's see. Our next question comes from Kimberly. So I've been trying, this is a funny one. I've been trying to come up with a name for my agency, and every single thing I come up with is taken. Is anyone else having this problem? Kimberly, you are not alone. Do not feel bad. Very, very common. What we've seen through the years through our 7-day setup program is that is the hardest step. That and choosing a host agency, but I think it's almost more choosing a name is the most difficult part and where people get stuck, because there there's a lot of agencies out there and people have taken the name. So you'll type in whatever, like you think you have this beautiful idea like Steph's Dolphins Travel, and you Google it and there's a Steph's Dolphins Travel. And it's a little bit disheartening. So don't feel bad, Kimberly. Very, very common. But I want to show you a couple things. So mm, let's think. Okay, so first thing I want to show you, I'm going to share my screen again. And I'm going to go back to our site at Host Agency Reviews. We'll put the link in the description, but you can also go to the search bar and type in travel agency names, and that will pull up our article. It has lots of great tips on things to consider when you're choosing your travel agency name. Again, you're not going to hit all the check marks on here, but the idea is to really put thought into your travel agency's name. You don't want it to sound similar to someone else's that's near you or that might get mistaken for you. You want to make sure that the domain name is available, so that you're not, again, sending clients to the wrong person. You want to make sure that the social media handles are available. You want to make sure that it's not trademarked so you don't get caught with trademark infringement problems later on. So there's a lot of stuff to look at in this free article. The other thing I wanted to point out, I talked about the course earlier, but I'm going to pull this up. So let me type this in really quick. Okay. So I'm going to, all right. So in our course, a lot of the content is, I think there's something like 50 downloads, exclusive spreadsheets, things like that. And some of them are the same name as what's on the site, but they're really beefed up and souped up. So they're not what you get on the site. So one of the examples here that I'll show you is our naming worksheet. So this is a 6-page thing that walks you through. It's a brain exercise that walks you things like, we're going to do a brain dump. Here are the things we want you to ask or want you to answer. We want you to look at the synonyms, trying to give you different ideas because it can really get stuck. Cruise and travel, those are very common words that are used in agencies. So giving ideas like looking at the images search, what kind of alliterations can you do? Can you do a descriptive one or can you do something that rhymes? And then getting some social feedback from your friends and family on what they think about it. And then talking about like doing some what would I call it? Like intelligence gathering and seeing what the competition is like out there. Does anyone else pull up besides you or anything near you? What does it get auto corrected to? And then talking about things like, again, is the social media handle available? Is it a federal trademark? Is it available in your state if you register it? Because that's a big thing as well. So just an idea, we'll put again a link in to the course if anybody is interested. Again, you can do that free preview and try it out. And there is a money back guarantee. We're not out to take anyone's money if they're unhappy with things. So we obviously give a money back guarantee, no questions asked within the first 30 days. And I think that about wraps it up for today. A big thank you again to Uniglobe Travel Center for making today possible. We really appreciate it. And then next week, we are going to have Geraldine Ree on, who is a business coach, co-hosting with us. Let's see. And then April 7th, we'll have Stephanie Pickles from Pickles Travel Network on as our co-host. And then the next week after that, April 14th, we will have Ondavo Travel on. So those are all host agencies except for Geraldine. So if you have questions for any of them, please submit them by going to hostagencyreviews.com/Friday15. And just a reminder again, if you like the Friday 15 and you want to get email reminders or text messages, go ahead and you can go to hostagencyreviews.com/Friday15 and sign up for e-reminders or text alerts. Well, everyone, it is Friday, so I'm going to be out of here soon. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next Friday.